with me is my co-host, Mike Van Pelt, MVP. He is the True
What's
Man,
happening?
host of True Man Podcast and True Man Life Coaching. And then we have Jim T. Chong, the Walk Star. He is amazing. He's a publicist. He's an affiliate marketer. He has ZoomTurtle.com, which has like a huge list of amazing things you can check out. So I highly recommend you do that. And as well as we're all authors, and really just ultimately what we are is three men who can agree and maybe even sometimes disagree, but have fun at the same time on all things leadership. And that's what today is all about, is bringing out the authentic leader. We are currently in a year-long series of Leaders Are ... That one's for you, MVP. And the reason why is because after the three dots is a word, and it's a word that describes leaders. Now, we have four main categories, and right now in this current quarter, we are talking about leaders as servants, servant leaderships. And this word as a descriptor, I'm not expecting anybody to be perfect. I'm not saying you have it all figured out, because good Lord knows I don't. But one of the things with these descriptors and these words is just understanding that some of them we're going to have absolute strengths in, some of them maybe not so much. So the things we're discussing can help you strengthen these things and help make each and every one of us better. It's also something that if you reach out to one of us and want to go more in depth based on the expertise that we have within these areas, feel free to reach out to us. At the end of the show, we'll give you our contact information. We love to hear from everybody. We love to talk leadership. And so today is being that authentic leader, especially as a servant leader. If you truly are going to serve people, and we talked about this last year when we were talking about communication, being authentic in your communication. It's not just about saying something. It's not just about checking the box. It's how does it make people feel? If you really are being authentic, you give people this understanding that there's an emotion tied to this. And it doesn't have to be one that just causes our heads to go all over the place and go crazy, as much as it is just knowing that you care. People don't walk away so much. Hopefully they've listened to you and hopefully they've learned something, right? What they really care about, what's most important, is how you made them feel. That's when they'll really connect with you. And so that's the bigger part of today, even though later on during the year, we're going to talk about leaders as connectors. When we're really authentic to who we are and how we're communicating with other people, they are more adaptable and more willing to want to follow us, to want to listen to us, to want to meet the goals and dreams and desires of the organization or of the family or wherever we are. And so as we think about authenticity, I'm going to keep it kind of generic today, guys. Is Jim, what is authenticity to you? You define it. You don't have to look up Webster's, folks. Just what is authenticity to you, especially as a leader?
It's being real. I just say, simply put, it's just being real, just being true to form to who you are. So that's what being authentic means to me.
Mike, what about you?
Yeah, I would add to that, um, not wearing a mask, not posing, not being something that you're not imitating something you want to be, not false. It's important to be genuine and real. And my experience has been that you will live a much happier life by living from a perspective of being authentic. Can't even say the word.
That's perfect. See, there's Mike being authentic. So it makes him a true leader.
Yeah,
Honestly.
true.
And that happens. I remember growing up, when we talk about speeches and how we talk and things. I've always loved speaking. I've always loved being on stage, being in public, not so I can put myself on the stage or have a platform. I just enjoy doing it. It's just one of the few things that I don't really, I mean, sure, yeah, I kind of get a little shaky and get a little nervous. Why not? But ultimately, it just fuels me. It fires me up. And one of the things, thinking back in authenticity, I can't say it now. Thanks, Mike. Is, they tried to teach us perfection in how we would speak. You couldn't say you couldn't say like. We actually had one of our professors, this was when I was in junior college, actually tally marked how many times we said or like, and I was so scared to say it. It wasn't until almost 20 years later, almost to the date, it was within the last couple of years, that they said, are you really being your authentic self if you're not getting ready to present another idea and you're making sure that your mind has formulated what's going to happen? Because everybody in the audience is doing it too. And so one of
Mhm.
the things that I'd really like to hear us discuss today is, yes, we are here to be our authentic selves, which I truly believe that Jim and Mike and myself all personify that. I really believe that. And I don't want to spend a lot of time on the self so much as it is, how do we teach people? How do you guide people to be their authentic selves? And Jim, I'm going to start with you on this. And part of where I'm going to bring this together is Jim loves all things karaoke. He loves it. One of the things about karaoke that I have struggled with, sorry, Jim, love you. I love karaoke,
Mhm.
but I've struggled with is people try to outperform their abilities. And it's on stage. Preachers do it too. Teachers do it. Bosses do it. Managers do it. So I'm not trying to pick on anyone. So if anybody is in karaoke, I'm not picking on you. But Jim, how do we get people to just show up and be their authentic selves and not feeling like that just because they're singing the song, they have to sing it exactly like how the star does? And I mean, you have brought some amazing people with amazingly talented voices to the stage. I know that. I've seen it. But how do we get people if they obviously struggle with this, because then it just becomes too much and it's not their own, even though their own is amazing.
One thing, I love this question. How do you be authentic? Well, you gotta create all these steps to be able to be authentic. There's a Nike phrase, you probably know it, 3 words. What is the Nike phrase? Just do it,
Just do it.
right? There is a time and place. Toastmasters for speaking. Let's just use speaking as a great example. They count the ums and ahs. You brought that up. We get that. And you want to be able to be a better speaker by perfecting and paying attention to, things that can distract from a message. Absolutely. But the most authentic people are not perfect. And this is where it's really important to understand. Mike and I had this discussion. When you come online, especially today, you can create the best speech ever. All right. But Mike, isn't it true that you're going to get more likes by videoing yourself changing a tire than giving an incredible message? What are your thoughts, Mike, real quick?
I actually did do a
Yes.
video changing a tire, and it did get quite a few hits.
Yeah. And people, because that's what is happening in real life. This is why karaoke, you brought it up. I even challenge CEOs. I'm very serious about this. I'm starting to talk to CEOs at this level. And I say, look, you can give the best speech ever. But I guarantee if you go up there, you give 3 speeches, awesome speeches, and you give 3 songs that you sing, especially if you're not a singer. But, if you're a singer, that's great too. Either way, it doesn't matter. People are going to enjoy that. And especially if you're not a verse singer. Why? Because they're going to see you make mistakes. They're going to relate. Oh my gosh. They can relate to that. That's being real and authentic. That's real life, guys. The thing we're living in terms of things we're doing, even this backdrop, this is all bubble, guys. I mean, you guys know, I will tell a joke. Usually it has Asian slant to it sometimes. We talk about the APC, the Asian Persuasion Cowboy. I actually used that yesterday. People are laughing because that's really me. It's consistent with who I am, right? But it won't work for people that they're just trying to use it as a gimmick. You can feel the difference. So like what you talked about, Chris, I believe it was you that brought up consistency is so key for things as well in terms of, being a great leader. It's the same thing, just being consistent with who you are. If you make these little mistakes, people have a tendency to laugh and be able to connect with you better than if you're perfect. And so that is what the real key, I think, is just doing it. Don't try to get things perfect. Strive for perfection, but understand you're going to be imperfect. People want to see the flaws as well. That's why I love it when I just ask people a question on the spot. Oh, I didn't prepare for it. Even better. That's really what you think. As long as I'm not catching you offline on, as long as I'm not catching you on a subject that you're just not versed in. If you are versed in it, you should be able to speak about it. And that's your true thought rather than thinking too deeply about it. That's what I think is really key.
Yeah, and I wholeheartedly agree with that. That's that, but it's just this understanding of it. And Jim, you said it too. It's just perfection is not truly attainable. But being your best version of yourself each and every day, making you better than what you were yesterday, that's authenticity. Admitting your mistakes, saying, "Hey, guys, I messed that up. I'm sorry." Or when you've got someone that makes a mistake, you're
Mhm.
truly authentic with them. You'll say, "Hey, the reason why I knew that wasn't going to work or why we're having this discussion, one of two things or both has happened. Either A, you have seen it and experienced it, or you personally experienced it because you did it." And when you can admit that to people and be open and honest with people, they're more likely to want to sit and listen to you. Some of the best times I've been around karaoke was people just letting loose and having fun and not trying to hit it like they were auditioning for something. Same thing with speeches. I mean, I've seen people stumble over their own speech, catch it,
Mm.
make a joke about it, and move on. And honestly, that one had more impact and more people paying attention. And I've done this myself than some of the ones that just seem super polished and super perfect. Not to say it wasn't great information and great content, but there's some that I've seen, and again, I've done this myself, so it's both, where I've just gone so straight hardcore into it that I was grinding my teeth getting through it, even though the content was there. But I was trying to make it so perfect that I messed up more than if I would have just flowed with the original mess up. And Mike, that's where I want to come to you, especially as men. Something you said that I'll be 100% real with all y'all. I'll be as authentic as I can be right now. I'm vulnerable. I wear a mask. I
Mhm.
wear a mask as a man. I think
Mm.
I don't know. I obviously I can't speak for women, but men wear masks. I mean, we get all prideful and puffed up and flex our muscles and Mike, how do we combat this? I mean, how do we take that mask off and just be authentic? I mean, it sounds so simple to go, you know what? Just say it, man. Just tell me how it is. Just talk, It's like, well, but and you deepen your voice and the fish went from this big to this big, right? So
Yeah.
how do we break this down? And it doesn't have to just be for men. So ladies tuning in, this can be for all of us. I just speaking from my own experience in that.
Well, first I would say I'm a recovering perfectionist, always recovering, right?
No, not you,
Um,
Mike.
yeah, and so the reason I say that is that I think a lot of us want too much too much
Mhm.
perfection in our lives. I've had a hard time just settling for good is good enough sometimes. And the reality is that, you know, in a lot of cases it's unachievable and it's a lot of pressure to put on yourself to feel that way. Now, how how can we not wear a mask? Well, I mean, first and foremost, you have to know who your identity is in, right? For you and me, that's Christ. All right. And, really what we're trying to do, and this is along the lines of perfection, is that, and this is where the true man comes from, right? So Jesus Christ is the ultimate model of perfection. He was a sinless man. None of us will ever achieve that, but it's a good goal to have to follow him and what he did. There's a reason why he says many, if not all, the things he says in the Bible, so that we can model that. So the idea is not perfection. The idea is to follow the ultimate true man. I'm not saying that because it's my brand, by the way, but it sounds really good. Um, you know, but I think that we have to realize that being perfect, achieving a 10 out of 10 is a great goal to have. It's a great goal to have. But that may not be the only goal to have. And, I just think that if people are going to follow you and you're going to be a great leader, you better show up real because people know when you don't.
Mm.
Yeah, especially in this day and age of information and how fast it can travel. And, in the old days, the water cooler was literally a place you had to go to get the scoop on things going on, or where gossip would spread, things like that. Now, all you gotta do is send a quick text message, and the whole office knows what's going on, right? And
Yeah.
and I think when you lead authentically, and if before the text can get sent, and you can say, "Hey, I'm human. I messed up. I'm sorry." Or maybe you don't know it yet. So hopefully you've been authentic and open enough that they know they can come to you because you are a real person. I even think about this with our children. So many times our kids aren't necessarily, yeah, they're scared of getting in trouble. Why wouldn't they be, right? I know I was, but it's not always just so much them being scared that they're getting in trouble. It's that judgment feeling, especially as they start to get older and start to find themselves. They start to find their identity and who they are. I mean, I've got two little ones that are really starting to pick that up, and their personality is starting to shine through, and starting to see a lot of me and my daughter, which can be scary sometimes, especially when I was that age, right? But the thing is when we're finding that in ourselves, there's a lot of times that our kids see us as perfect. And I can't tell you how many times I would assume you guys would agree, because I haven't met too many parents that haven't agreed with this statement, is how many times you told your kiddos, "Hey, the reason why I'm telling you not to do that is because I did it.
Mhm.
The reason why I'm
Yeah.
giving you this lesson is because I screwed that up.
Uh-huh.
I stuck the paper clip in the outlet one time. Okay, whatever.
Mhm.
And I have a 20-year-old too, where he's learning a lot of lessons as an adult. And it's
Yeah.
like, kiddo, what have I always told you? And I'm telling the two littles this too. And I've said this on this show multiple times, and probably say it more. Is I'm not telling you to be perfect. I'm not telling you you're not going to screw up, but I am telling you what I did screwed up.
Yeah.
I'm telling you to do better than I did.
Yeah.
Maybe we make a new mistake and we make it together and we learn something new. But either way, there's a lot of times that we take for granted that the face that we have on is the one that everybody is seeing. And that may or may not hold true, because that face may actually be a mask. And what
Yeah.
are you truly putting out there? Who is the self that you're putting out there? And Mike, you really hit the hammer on the nail here. Just take the mask off. Be true to yourself. Who do you want people to see? Do you want to personify this perfect leader who the doors never opened, and I can just hand you the work and say, here, go do it, and then expect it to be done perfectly? Or do you want to be the one that has the door open and says, if you need me, I'm here for you, and they actually believe you? They
Yeah.
actually want to come to you. They actually want to learn from you. They want to make, as weird as this is going to sound, they want to make mistakes with you.
Yeah.
Take that one on for size and leadership. I can't tell you how many people disagree with that statement until I show them what it really means. What it really means is that we're learning together. We're growing together.
Yeah. Well,
So,
I
go
wanted
ahead,
to
Jim.
share, Chris, I love what you're talking about. It's really making me think about people that I'm where I get honestly not authentic, or you can call it authentic, is when I'm uncomfortable around somebody. Then I start doing crazy things. But yeah, is that my authentic self or not? And in the coaching world, from today and of the past, hey, we're going to teach you to be authentic. I mean, they tell you to be authentic, but the only way to do it is just tell people, be who you are. You know what I mean? And be who you are is not perfect in my mind. And then you discussing, what you were talking about parenting and stuff. I don't know if this is relevant, but I was busted up because being authentic, parents really mean it when they say, hey, I've gone through this, right? You were saying, hey, the reason why I'm telling you. But there was one, I just got to share this. I don't know how relevant it is, but there was one picture where these people are going up this big snow mountain. Okay. This is an authentic thing. I love the caption below. It says, this is a picture of your parents on their way to school. If you get that. You know what I mean? They always talk. There used to be that statement. I had to go through 5 feet of snow, but I looked at that and I was busting up because there's an air of truth to that. And when parents are sharing things, there is an air of truth to what they're saying. They're being authentic. They genuinely care about their kids. We all care. We're being authentic when we share from our perspective, but our perspective may not always be people's reality, and that's okay. Because when they say, hey, I used to go through snow, we know that comes from, the point is, I didn't have it as easy as you. I didn't get people that pick us up at the door, drive us to school, drop us off, oh, fix our lunch and all that, you know And the whole thing about in terms of leaders being authentic, just being who we are, and I love what Mike, you stand for, true man. What is a true? Does a true man cry, Mike? Does a true man cry? Right? Anyway, I just want to throw that out there. Just some thoughts here about being authentic and just lessons that we can teach our kids just to be ourselves. That's when they can relate better. So thank you, Chris, for letting me interject.
Yeah, no, that's great. And you're so right. And it's, I used to walk uphill both ways through 2 feet of snow to get to school and to get home. And, it wasn't even just so much of the literal aspects of walking through that. It's, you look at technology today. I mean, forget even the fact that, almost all buses have heaters. I think many of them have air conditioning now. Our air conditioning was put down the window. But, you even look at how much nicer coats are today, how much nicer gloves. And I mean, there's companies out there that you could be wearing just a shirt, just a long sleeve shirt. But because of the way it's designed and the materials it has in it, it works better than wearing a big coat unless it's raining out. It's a thermal layer. Thermal layers back when I had it was this itchy cotton stuff that you wore, or wool or whatever, So you think about it though, you are being authentic and telling them, listen, you have no idea what it's like. But the other side though, where they're being authentic with us, and I think the same thing holds true in the workplace too, or in our churches, organizations, wherever we're at, is there's a lot of times we get hung up on some of those things where they're saying, okay, that's cool. I'm glad that's what you dealt with. What was the lesson you learned? Oh, wait, we have new clothing, so go wear it, right? That's a simple fix now. Back then it wasn't. But even now, when people are coming to us as leaders and sharing what they have going on and being authentic, being vulnerable with us, telling us what's going on, it's real easy for us to get dialed back in on, well, yeah, but you don't really know what it's like. And you miss that authenticity. You miss that moment to say, you know what? I'm not just hearing you, I'm listening to you. I mean, listening is communicating, right? And leaders are listeners. I'm listening to you because, yeah, what I had to go through is different than what you're going through, but we need to fix what's going on now. This is what's happening now. And I think the bigger issue here, especially with our kids these days, and younger generations, not just littles, even teenagers and young adults, is they're coming up with all these new things that are going on. And a lot of leaders are getting kind of stuck in this, well, you don't know what it's really like to have to struggle and go through this and this. Well, no, I don't, but this is what I'm going through. And we miss these authentic chances and opportunities to connect and say, no, but this is where I'm at. So how do I fix this? And I think it's very important for us to really start to step into full authenticity as leaders, whether you're the leader at home, the leader at church, leader at work, whatever, even leading yourself, of saying, yeah, back then that sucked, but we figured out how to fix that. So it's fixed. What do I do now with where I'm at so I can make a better, brighter future? Mike, your closing thoughts on that as we end our session today.
Well, it is interesting because everybody, everybody's different. Brene Brown has a quote. It says, authenticity is the daily practice of letting go of who we think we're supposed to be and embracing who we are. And, I think it's a fairly powerful statement because that's the challenge that we all face, is embracing who we are in the moment. And who I am now may be different than who I am 5 years from now. Who I am now is definitely different than who I was 5 years ago. In fact, 5 years ago, I wouldn't be able to sit here and have this authentic conversation because I wasn't ready to have it. And so, you move through seasons of life and you adjust accordingly. But certainly, and I said this earlier, what I have found is that when you live more authentic and who you are in the moment, you will definitely live, I believe, a much happier life. And I love the words. I was looking up some of this stuff here before we got on. I love this idea of authenticity. What is claimed, fully, trustworthy, genuine, bona fide. I love those words. And,
love it.
What you should be striving for. Don't you want to be genuine and real and bona fide? I think that's if I'm sure if we ask everybody, if we lined up 10 people, they would all be like, yeah, that's how I want to be seen, but you've got to do the work in order to be seen that way. Otherwise, people will sniff you out and they're not going to want to be around you. So that is my closing thought.
And notice these words are not just words, they're descriptors, and descriptors means action.
Yeah.
You have to take action on it. You can't just say, I want to be a more authentic leader. I want to be more bona fide. I want to be more trustworthy. You have to be trustworthy. You have to be more bona fide. We're actually going to talk about leaders who are trustworthy. You have to be authentic. You got to take the mask off, be yourself. Now, be a positive version of yourself. If someone notices something that, yeah, it's authentic, but it's not exactly positive or not exactly good, I don't want to be authentically bad at something. So you got to take the action to correct these very things. And so, but it's true and it happens. The difference maker and the true leadership formula here is quite simply that if those things are happening, fix it. Easier said than done sometimes. I've definitely had to make some adjustments myself from professional pessimist to optimistic opportunist. But it took taking action. It took the action of another leader actually calling me out for it. He's like, you're not being very authentic right now. Actually, let me rephrase that. I was being authentically bad. Jim, your final thoughts.
Well, I think this is a great discussion. It makes me think about, how am I appearing? How am I coming across? And, one advantage, I have over you guys probably is the fact that I get a chance to see people sing and get up there, but they're honest, that's who they really are, whether they can sing or not sing, that is who they are. And the whole thing is when we are approaching people, especially this day and age, don't strive for perfection, just do it. And I think, again, the more prepared you are. Now, I'm not saying you need to be prepared, but what I mean is, the more you have to think about it and go by a guideline. Okay. You can do it for structure, but that's different than for doing it for content. You know what I mean? And the whole thing is that, I think you're being very authentic if you jump on without even all this glitz and glamour. But we know that these are things that are necessary to catch people's attention, to be, what's that word? Professional, right? So these are good things to relate to people. But this is a mask. What we're doing here is a mask, behind us. It's what the image I want to give you, right? You see what I'm saying? And I think that what we talked about here is just being authentic. I say just do it. Plan where you need to plan. If you need to learn words of a song, yes, please work on it. Get words of the song. Learn. But enjoy the journey along the way. You're not going to start out as perfect. It's even better to get a baseline where you really start and where you're at today. You see the progression of where you get better. And you can stay authentic through that process as you get better. So my thoughts are be who you are. Start now. Get moving. Have a plan, but document it along the way. Get online, record it. That's what I love about these, Chris. We're going to take a look back and we're going to say, wow, this is our first show and this is where we're at today. You're going to learn a lot. So back to you, Chris. Just do it.
Yeah. And thank you for Jim. And I think the biggest thing is to remember that baby steps lead to giant leaps. You're not going to get it all perfect on the first night. You're not going to get it perfect at all. But if you don't start, like Jim was saying, if you don't start somewhere, and more specifically, start today, start right now. If it's something you're just like, I just don't know, then Google it, YouTube it. It's out there. I promise you it's there. It is. If you're like, I don't know if I can afford a coach, YouTube it for a while until you can go deeper. Figure something out, whether you're being an entrepreneur or you want to learn how to sing better before you actually get on stage, then find some videos of the song and start practicing it yourself. Record it yourself. No one else is going to hear it. Now I know the whole everybody's listening that's on the cloud kind of thing. Yeah, whatever. Okay. Listen to it, figure it out, whatever that it is. If you're getting ready for a speech and it's going to be your first time going on stage, record yourself doing it and look up those different things, those different tics that keep you from doing it, because as you do that, and this I believe where Jim has come from, you're preparing yourself, but preparing for the understanding of you're the expert. Okay, you're the one that has the knowledge, you're the one that's getting on stage, whether it's speaking, singing, coaching, whatever. You have the content. You're preparing yourself to be better, not to be perfect. I'll take progress over perfection Any
Yes.
day.
Well put. I love
Any
that.
day.
Mhm.
Jim, how can we get a hold of you?
Well, you can go to zoomturtle.com, scroll down way down there, and you'll eventually find my number at zoomturtle.com, and you can connect with me there. And just want to let you know, I love the content of this, Chris. Thanks for putting this together.
Thank you, Jim. Mike, how do we get a hold of you?
Mike at truemanlifecoaching.com, and check out my new book on mikevanpeltauthor.com. And you can listen to me on the podcast, truemanpodcast.com. Just give it an hour or so until that new website gets up and running.
And you can find it on all the podcast platforms. I know that. Why? Because I
Yeah,
listened to it and I looked it up. So
absolutely.
you can check it out. So I'm Chris Tice. You can reach me, Chris Tice, at eaglefireenrichment.com, or take off the Chris app part and just go to eaglefireenrichment.com. You can see everything we're up to there. As always, such a blessing to be here with you, Mike and Jim. Thank you so very much. And thank you for your authenticity. I don't want to sound cliche when I say that. These guys are really pouring out their hearts. It's not just a belief or an opinion. This is what we know. This is what we've experienced. This is what we've learned, whether it be formally educated or informally educated. I love them both. I like to combine the two together and have fun with it. So for now, I want you to have your best day ever. Look forward to seeing you all next week. Go out and make every day great. Remember, Ken never did. God bless us all. Goodbye, everybody.
Bye-bye.